Our government has told colleges, you better treat every student equally and make them feel safe, or we'll cut off your funds. One result is that when people are gunned down in parts of the world, on college campuses, the most privileged and pampered adult children obsess about our right not to be offended. That idea is a threat to free speech. Samantha Harris works for the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. Am I characterizing this correctly?
Yes. On campus today, there's a terrible conflation of the right to actual physical safety with some sort of perceived right to emotional safety.
Well, let's give some examples. Let's play some video from the University of Missouri where some students were upset about how the university responded to complaints about racist comments. Some members of the football team joined the protest. They refused to play a game. The game was played only after the president of the university resigned. The activist students held protests, but then claimed that media coverage of their protests was insensitive. So they demanded a safe space, safe from hostile media. A student photographer showed up to take pictures, and this happened.
Don't have a right to take our photos. Protects you standing here. No, I do have the photo. You have the right to take photos. First Amendment.
That reporter was very composed, and he said all the right things.
I have a job to do. I'm documenting this for national news. Yes, I can. This is the First Amendment that protects your right to stand here, protects mine.
They said that the photographer was threatening their safe space. And I can see why they want to feel safe.
Yeah, but what they didn't realize is the very same First Amendment that protects their right to be protesting on campus protects the rights of the media to be covering that public protest.
And what was creepy to me, it wasn't just naive students who demanded the photographer leave a public space. A journalism professor did this too, and this university official.
What's your name? Can you please leave? You're with the Office of Greek Life?
My name is 1950.
Ma'am, are you with the Office of Greek Life?
No, my name is Concerned Student of 1950.
She calls herself 1950 because that was the first year the university admitted black students. Eventually, the protesters pushed the photographer all the way out of the area.
You're pushing me. You're pushing me.
I'm being pushed.
You're not doing your job. You're not doing your job.
It's our right to walk forward, isn't it? I believe it's my right to walk forward.
Samantha, at least the university later said that was wrong.
They did, and the protesters also did later walk back their demands that the media stay out and, in fact, invite the media to come participate.
But the climate is wrong, you say.
Yes. I mean, you see that the first impulse of administrators and even faculty is often to censor. And that it's reflective of this dysfunctional culture on campus today when it comes to free speech.
The new attitude toward we got to focus on victimhood is just amazing to me. A self-described trans woman named Emma tweeted out that it was repulsive the way journalists use Paris to sweep conflict at the University of Missouri under the rug.
Yeah, just shows how pathological this conflation of emotional and physical safety has become.
And yet, even crazier than the Missouri protests was what went on at Yale after the university told students, be careful what you wear on Halloween, be sensitive. One professor sent out a thoughtful email that said, whose business is it to control the forms of costumes of young people? It's not mine. Some students were outraged by that. They said not censoring costumes would lead someone to wear an offensive one. So to try to clear things up, the professor that sent the email and her husband went to talk to those students. And this happened.
Then why the did you accept the position?
Because
Who hired you?
I have a different vision.
You should step down. If that is what you think about being a master, you should step down. It is not about creating an intellectual space. It is not. Do you understand that? It's about creating a home here. You are not doing that. You are disgusting.
I think think it's the protesters who were disgusting.
Yeah, the email from this faculty member was such a thoughtful invitation to dialogue. So the idea that even having to be exposed to ideas that one might disagree with, even in the most respectful way, is something that for which someone should have to step down from their position. I mean, it's so illiberal.
But North Carolina State referred people to this link, which guided them on what kind of costume would be okay or insensitive.
Yeah, I like to say that nowadays I think you need a graduate degree in sociology to be able to figure out what to wear for Halloween on a college campus.
Does this come just from crazy people in colleges or government?
We've seen guidance from the federal government that suggests that universities, or more than suggests since they control federal funding, that universities adopt very broad definitions of sexual harassment. And that can have
broad can mean ambiguous. You don't know what's okay.
Exactly, and we've seen that lead to a terrible chilling effect on professors' classroom speech. We've seen professors investigated for classroom speech on, difficult and, sensitive topics. And I think that, we're seeing
I see
this.
why. The education department said any unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, including verbal conduct.
Right. And even though the federal government has sort of privately walked that back. I mean, FIRE and some other civil liberties groups wrote to the Office for Civil Rights after they issued that language about any unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, and they walked that back privately in a letter to FIRE. But that
FIRE
message,
is your group.
Yes, FIRE is my group. Sorry, but that message has not trickled down to universities who are adopting this language in droves and who are investigating students and faculty for speech simply because it's sexually related and it offends someone.
One more college example, this one from California's Claremont McKenna College, where after some students complained that they didn't fit in, a dean emailed a student saying that she would like to talk to students who don't fit the mold. Students were offended by that.
Now you put into writing that we don't fit the mold. Nothing that you have said has made me feel like I am protected by you, that I am safe in your office. Nothing.
The dean then resigned. At least some students found that outrageous. Claremont student Taylor Schmidt wrote this editorial titled, "We Dissent." Taylor joins us now. So you dissent how?
We dissent to the claims that there are instances
and I
of...
should add, you work for the alternative newspaper.
Right, the Claremont Independent. And we dissent to the claims of racial bias at Claremont McKenna. We're really disappointed in the students for this egregious display of disrespect for the administration and to the administration themselves for so easily giving in to this completely inappropriate protest.
So are you an outcast at school for having these feelings?
A little bit, yes, but luckily for us, we've received a lot of messages from students who unfortunately are afraid to go public like we did because they feel that they will become outcasts. But they have said that they agree with us.
Afraid? They're not going to beat you up, are they?
They're not going to beat us up, but they will. I mean, there have been instances at other schools of students' dorm rooms being vandalized, and I think the fear of being anything other than a progressive on a college campus these days is very real, and there are real threats.
The administration showed that if you act like a child, you're going to get what you want.
The students can get whatever they want if they yell loudly enough, and I think it sets a horrible precedent.
But that's going on all over the place. American schools apparently are not alone in this kind of craziness. Check out this short Australian film. It starts in math class.
Our first question, 1 + 1. Yes.
2.
Incorrect. Yes.
Multiculturalism.
Well done, Simon. Next question, what is 3 × 3? Yes?
9.
Wrong. Yes, Penelope.
Gender equality.
Very good, Penelope.
Is this a joke?
You think gender equality is a joke?
No, but isn't this a maths class?
Don't be so racist.
I just asked a question.
We don't ask questions. Questions are offensive.
Then this student presents a complex and brilliant mathematical solution for assessing heart attack risk.
I mean, it's a new method, but it could potentially save thousands of lives.
7.
You barely even read it.
You used red pen.
What?
Red is considered offensive in many religions.
Why would you belittle everything down to a singular colour? Well, humanity is a rainbow of beauty and spirituality.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously a parody, but does this feel real to you guys?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And it's gotten even worse to the point where you're not only going to be vilified for disagreeing with the protesters and the progressives on campus, but there's this new phrase they've been throwing around called silence is violence, and they've been using that to demonize even those who aren't actively agreeing with them.
Silence is violence.
That's correct.
And you didn't laugh at this, you said, because I thought it was
too
funny.
real. Yeah, it's
too real.
It's meant to be a comedy and it's well done, but unfortunately it reflects the reality of college campuses fairly well.